Hello everyone, and welcome to Crossover Mind. Today we're diving into the high-stakes world of semiconductor politics, specifically looking at a major development, China's new directive to ban foreign AI chips from state-funded data centers. I'm your host, Steve, and I'll be looking at this from a technology and supply chain perspective.
And I'm Lisa. I'll be bringing the geopolitical strategy viewpoint to our conversation. It's great to be here. This is a topic where the policy decisions made in one capital have massive, often unforeseen, ripple effects across the entire tech landscape.
Absolutely, Lisa. And this latest ripple is more like a tidal wave. The recent Reuters exclusive report laid it out pretty starkly. Beijing is now requiring new data center projects that get any state funding to use domestic AI chips only. For projects already underway, if they're less than 30% complete, they've been ordered to rip out or cancel purchases of foreign chips.
From a strategic standpoint, this isn't a surprise, but the decisiveness is striking. This is the predictable countermove to the series of export controls the Trump administration put in place. The core idea behind the U.S. policy was to slow down China's AI development, particularly for military applications, by cutting off their access to the most advanced tools, namely NVIDIA's top-tier GPUs. It was a clear attempt to use technological superiority as a form of geopolitical leverage.
Right, but there's a growing consensus, which people like Andrew Ng have been pointing out for a while, that this strategy has massively backfired. The idea of keeping China dependent on U.S. technology, particularly NVIDIA's chips, wasn't just about selling products. It gave the U.S. and its allies a degree of control and visibility. By cutting them off, we essentially forced them to build their own boat. The Trump administration's restrictions didn't stop China's AI ambitions, they just accelerated their timeline for self-sufficiency.
That's the classic dilemma of sanctions, isn't it? Do they cripple the target, or do they foster a powerful, resentful, and independent competitor? In this case, it seems to be the latter. China's response isn't just defensive, it's a strategic declaration of technological independence. They're not just trying to survive without U.S. tech, they're building an alternative ecosystem from the ground up. And this data center directive is a massive, state-funded guarantee of a customer base for their domestic champions.
And those domestic champions are becoming increasingly viable. This isn't just a fantasy. We're talking about companies like Huawei with their Ascend AI chips. While a single Ascend chip might not beat a top-of-the-line NVIDIA H100, that's not the whole story. Huawei is focusing on system-level design, figuring out how to efficiently network thousands of their chips together. It's a different approach to solving the same problem. And on the software side, we're seeing proof of this progress. Moonshot AI's new model, Kimi 2 Thinking, is achieving performance that's competitive with top-tier Western models. That doesn't happen unless the underlying hardware and software stack is mature.
And that's where the geopolitical calculus gets really tricky. The U.S. bet was that China couldn't replicate the incredibly complex semiconductor ecosystem quickly. But China has now decided that good enough domestic chips with a secure and state-controlled supply chain are strategically better than the best foreign chips that can be taken away at any moment. This is a shift from pure performance to resilience.
This brings us to the most dangerous and, I think, overlooked part of this whole situation, the supply chain for raw materials. The U.S. controlled the finished high-end chips, but China has overwhelming dominance in the mining and processing of rare earth metals, which are absolutely essential for making those chips in the first place. By pushing China to build its own complete semiconductor industry, we've created a scenario where they can prioritize their own domestic production with their own raw materials.
It's a powerful piece of counter-leverage. The U.S. controlled the top of the pyramid, the most advanced designs. China is now leveraging its control over the foundation of that pyramid, the raw materials. If Beijing decides that its own national champions, like Huawei or SMIC, get first access to its supply of rare earths, where does that leave U.S. or European fabs? It creates an entirely new and potent vulnerability for the West.
Exactly. Suddenly, the US isn't the only one who can restrict access to critical technology components. This was the unintended consequence of the export ban. We played our trump card, and in response, China is now developing its own, and it's a very strong one. It flips the script on who is dependent on whom.
So, looking at the whole picture, the initial U.S. strategy was aimed at containment and maintaining a technological lead. But the result appears to be an accelerated decoupling, creating a truly bifurcated global tech landscape. We're moving towards a world with two parallel, largely incompatible tech stacks. And China, spurred by these restrictions, is now building its stack with a foundation of resource control that the US simply doesn't have.
It really leaves you wondering if NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang's argument that it was better to keep China's AI industry dependent on US hardware was the more pragmatic long-term strategy. It might have felt less decisive, but it would have maintained US influence and avoided forcing China's hand in this dramatic way. Now the genie of Chinese semiconductor self-sufficiency is out of the bottle, and it's backed by the full force of the state and control over critical raw materials.
I think that's the key takeaway. A policy designed to secure a long-term strategic advantage may have in fact shortened the timeline for the US to face a fully independent and resilient technological competitor. This new directive from Beijing is less an opening shot and more a confirmation that a new, more contested phase of this tech rivalry has begun.
Thank you for joining us again on Crossover Mind. At Crossover Mind, we provide the latest information on technology, business, and society, and delve into important themes beyond them. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, look forward to it. Goodbye.